When I read that one notable difference between the rich and the poor is the speed of implementation, that the rich implement their ideas much faster than poor people, I started to implement my ideas much faster. When I would get distracted, I'd ask myself, well, what story am I telling about why I'm not doing what I set out to do? Because that's the story that usually keeps you stuck. So then I'll tell myself another story and I get back on track. When somebody tells me about an idea they have, when they tell me about something that they want to do, I always say, just start it. Don't wait. Set a date for when you want to achieve your goal and stick to it, or at least schedule time every day to work on it and make no excuses. A little bit a day creates the momentum and it gets you in the groove. So it's so funny when somebody else feeds you back the same words that you spit out. I missed quite a few of my deadlines last year on one of the projects that I was doing, and then I abandoned working on it for some time. So right when I started thinking to myself, I need to get back at this project, work on it, and possibly finish it up by the end of this month. So I thought that, but then I didn't act on it. And then someone gave me my own advice, and they said, you can't break commitments to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Because if you don't do what you say, you get yourself in the habit of not doing what you say. And you create a pattern of failure. You create where you subconsciously train yourself to fail. So I had to laugh. I couldn't argue it. And I knew I had to get to work. So I just figured that I'd share that because we're at the end of January. This is around the time when people start forgetting about their, oh my God, what are they called? The plans that they made for themselves, their resolutions. I couldn't remember the name resolutions for a minute. So, yeah, here's some inspiration. Like, just get to it. Be the best that you can be this year. Make your goals happen. And do what you got to do. I would like to thank everybody who decided to click on and is listening. I thank you for everyone who's listened to one of my commentaries before and came back. I thank you for subscribing, sharing, giving a thumbs up. In the last commentary, I said I was going to do a commentary on ADOS. But because TBA and Professor Black Truth did an outstanding job exposing the creators of ADOS for being frauds and enemies to the Black agenda, I thought there was really no need to cover it. I figured they said everything that needed to be said, and what they said about Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore was proven to be true by Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore's actions. And then I thought, it doesn't really matter if they covered it perfectly. Those of us who support the Black agenda must be the force multipliers. Corporate media multiplies, repeats the same message over and over, and has the dollars to do it. And that's why millions of people think R. Kelly should be in jail and ignore the fact that the main prosecuting lawyer coming after him is being charged with extortion and was caught saying 90% of what is happening with R. Kelly is lies. That's something that we need to multiply. We have to multiply that message also, because that's what they're doing. So every chance we get, we need to remind the public that this is what this man said. And we need to multiply news that benefits us, especially when corporate media may try to come in and put their spin on things. Yvette Carnell stole the concept of the Black agenda from TBA and then painted it as if he's trying to undermine the Black agenda. She claims she never listened to him, which is an obvious lie because he was the first online to coin it the Black agenda the day after he spoke about the necessity for the descendants of American slavery to establish a lineage themselves as a lineage. She started screaming ADOS. Now, before that, when I used to see Yvette Carnell on, she was talking about, I used to see her talking about celebrities and always about why they couldn't, why we shouldn't look at their achievements as something Black people could do, because they came from privilege and stuff like that. And she was always talking about her ex-boss. So I really didn't mess with her too much. And it's funny because the day that I saw her talking about ADOS after his broadcast, I was saying, oh, okay, she listened to the broadcast last night, because it was so obvious. And I don't even know how I ended up seeing her talking about that day, because I really don't listen to her. She wasn't one of the people I listened to too much. But I was aware of her. And I used to always see her with some other guy, and they were always talking about politics. So this wasn't even her conversation 13 months ago. So when ADOS supporters say things like, no one was talking about black lineage and the racial wealth gap before Yvette, no one else explains reparations or fights for reparations the way they do, or that Tariq, TBA, and Dr. Anderson are haters, it's obvious that they are unfamiliar with these men and their work. Cornell and Antonio Moore co-opted the black agenda by taking black empowerment and reparations talking points that Dr. Claude Anderson, TBA, and Tariq Nasheed have been using for years. And now they're telling you that these men got it all wrong. ADOS says, although practicing group economics and group politics works for everyone else, it won't work for black people. Black people need to vote Democrat down. The ADOS duo are telling you to play basketball with a football, and a bunch of y'all are out here talking about they are helping us win the game. ADOS is a Democratic front group working against the interest of descendants of American slavery, and they are trying to undermine black empowerment. To distract from the fact that they betrayed the black agenda that they once promoted and are now pushing Bernie Sanders' talking points, Yvette Carnell made an ongoing attempt to discredit the people committed to the black agenda for empowerment, misleading you to think Dr. Anderson's powernomics doesn't work, to view Tariq as a pimp political leader. She knows that Tariq is not a leader of anything. He says he's not a leader. He'll tell you that. And she knows this, yet she presents him as being the leader of FBA. She misleads her supporters to see B1, which is a conviction, and FBA as organizations or movements that are trying to undermine ADOS. She knows FBA is only an acronym that Tariq used to describe lineage, since ADOS was created not only to describe a lineage, but as the name of their organization, and he was distancing himself from the bull. She presents TBA as someone who can't be trusted because he doesn't show his face and pretends to be two people. That was one of the days that I really said, okay, these people are not even smart, because she had some girl up there talking about, this woman was just cursing, just saying, okay, yeah, I don't believe that they're two different people. They're the same people. You can't tell me they're not the same people. MF this, MF this, and y'all are effing stupid, and fuck this, and da-da-da. It was just MF this, F this. And I talked about that in the last commentary. I don't mind people using cuss words, but when you are out here talking to masses, and that's how you always have to look at it, because even if I only have 10 people listen to one of my commentaries, I have still thrown it out to the masses that's going all over the world. You just don't, this just not a good look. I mean, cussing like that. So this is what she puts on her page to discredit TBA, saying that him and Professor Black Truth are the same person. I mean, if they are the same person, they are the same person. What difference does it make? It doesn't change the message. Is their message good? And even the faceless thing. Oh, y'all are believing a faceless person. Yeah, I'm a faceless person too. Because at the end, and so that was an interesting thing that she said. That the powers that be know who he is. So who is he really hiding from? He's hiding from the public, from us. So I'm saying, yeah, and when People leave comments on here. I don't know who's talking to me. I don't see people's faces. So no one needs to see my face. Does that change the truth of what I'm saying? When you're about delivering a message, you want to deliver the message. It's not about seeing how a person looks. So using that to discredit the things that they say was just silly. And she said that he was stupid. She said he's just as dumb as a bag of rocks. And that's when it's interesting that she's calling a person stupid that she took all of his talking points. That's why they're a joke to me. She was asking, what have they done for the black community besides make documentaries? What does a documentary do to help black people? What does a documentary do? And I say, ask R. Kelly what a documentary does. If you think that a documentary doesn't have influence or doesn't hold any weight, talk to R. Kelly. Then she's saying, what kind of black people spend their time trying to smash a movement that is squarely focused on the racial wealth gap? And I would say people that see that your solution to the racial wealth gap is not a solution and that it is not going to close the racial wealth gap. Then she asks, what makes him the black authority? Because I'm saying TBA, in case you're not familiar with who it is or what what that stands for. TBA is the black authority. And my answer to that question is his accuracy. His accuracy makes him the black authority. He is the maestro at breaking down politics and offering realistic political solutions that will close the racial wealth gap. And maybe the ADOS supporters don't know what the black agenda is, and they're just pretending that they do. In short, the black agenda is a vote as a bloc, quid pro quo, seeking to end state-sanctioned physical violence against black people and restitution for land and physical labor stolen from them. Now, does voting Democrat down and a government job guarantee sound like they are on board with the black agenda? Do you agree with black empowerment and the agenda being economics, or do you want to keep waiting for a politician to give you something that you are not demanding? No, and you know what? The black agenda, I posted that on them talking about it, Tariq Nasheed and TBA, back in, it was months ago. It was probably the beginning of last year. It might have been January of last year. So you can go back on this channel and look for that. What is the black agenda? And you can hear them speaking about it. And at that time, Yvette Carnell was not speaking anything about the black agenda. So knowing the agenda and that ADOS is doing nothing to empower black people, their talk was nothing but razzle-dazzle for the purpose of their selfish gain, why would anyone working towards black empowerment still support them or even refer to themselves as ADOS? It seems most of the people that cape for them do it because they are uninformed or they just don't like TBA or Tariq, because their followers always talk about Tariq creating FBA to undermine what ADOS is doing, and he just did this so that he can have his conference, and he co-opted Yvette and Carnell shit because he wants to promote his. They talk about him being a pimp, and just saying, and then they bring up things that he said about single moms shouldn't get reparations. So they just try to distract you by changing narratives and focusing you on nonsense, bringing up things Tariq Nasheed said, trying to get you offended. And he says a lot of things that are rude and insulting, and so does TBA. They come off as very arrogant, especially TBA. Tariq might describe me as a hood rat baby mama. TBA definitely would call me and my mama a bastard baby maker, amongst other things negative that he says. But that doesn't mean that the black agenda message that they push and the actions that they take don't support black empowerment. So I see a lot of the ADOS supporters saying things like, oh, I knew that he wasn't for black people the way he talks to people on the phone. When I read that comment, I had to laugh because, yeah, he talks to people crazy on the phone, but how do you connect that to, oh, he isn't for black people? And, so it just reminds me of Dick Gregory when he said, y'all are too emotional. Y'all get offended about dumb shit and hate on the wrong shit. Anyway, the creators of ADOS are liars and thieves. They've shown you that they don't stand on their word. Their story is always changing. They constantly contradict things they say, and they take credit for work that they did not do. Separate from liars. That's a rule of thumb for me, actually, from now on, because it never ends well when you hook up with a liar. I tell the kid, don't be a liar, be trustworthy. Always tell the truth. And if you can't tell the truth, at least don't lie, especially to yourself. If you know someone lies and you date them, or worse, you marry them and it turns sour, don't be mad at the liar for lying to you. Be mad for thinking that they wouldn't lie to you. But really, don't even be mad. Don't waste your time being mad at anybody. Always be willing to see and correct your mistakes. I had somebody say to me, all the people talking about black empowerment are doing it for the hustle. So neither one is better than the other. It's all a hustle to all of them. And people been saying the same thing for years about what black people need to do. And black people are never going to come together. And it's not going to happen. So that type of talk used to annoy me because I believe in the force of the people. And I believe that when people are set on doing something, it can get done. That's how I feel about the foods that they sell with all of the chemicals and the poisons. People like to complain about what the government allows and how the food companies are selling us poisons, but people keep buying it. And it's just like the solutions to a lot of things are simple, but it's just that people don't want to pursue the solution. If we just say, listen, we're not buying this. It doesn't make sense for me to buy food that's poisoning me, that is going to lead to sickness, and get off of some stupid shit like, well, it tastes good. No, that's dumb. And then feeding it to your babies. But you know what? I'll get into a food commentary at another time. I can't get distracted. I got a lot of things to do, like work on that project I told y'all about. So let me get back to it. But yeah, and because it's been said before, because people talked about black empowerment before or what we need to do, it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be said again, or because it didn't work before, it's not going to work now, or that it can't be done. That's a dumb argument for not working to get out of subjection. What kind of person doesn't want to break free from their tormentor? What kind of person loves their tormentor and assists their tormentor? Sometimes, a lot of black people are like the children that still love their parents that abuse them. Neely Fuller Jr. said all black people in America are children born in a prison. And Dick Gregory said, America is your mama. So if you look at it like that, we have a mama that plays favorites. Her favorite doesn't have to work hard, never gets punished. She supports the favorite when they blame the other children for everything that is going wrong for them. And as far as America's black children, she just tolerates them. They're ignored, confined, or held back. If they speak against her or get out of line, they are severely punished and tagged ungrateful. She has no love for the black children. The other children see it, and they treat the black children like that. They are only there to serve her and her favorites. I get tired of seeing black people being beat down by cops or even civilians and being shot and their murderers walk away. I get tired of other races really just having a total all-out disrespect for black people and think that black people are something to step on, or want to blame black people for their condition, which in one part, some of us, we are to blame for some of it, because the thing is, when are we going to get up and fight? Evil will prevail when good men do nothing. I remember when Trayvon Martin got killed, and really this is what changed me, I think, a little bit. And, everything, when you are tied to your destiny, like R. Kelly would say, right? He's chained to his destiny. Sometimes these things happen to you that, when Trayvon Martin was murdered, first of all, I didn't really watch the news, so I didn't hear I wasn't following the story. So when George Zimmerman got off, I remember walking down Lenox Avenue and these people were protesting outside. And I was saying, this is a waste of time. I was so detached from the whole situation because I was so used to seeing black people getting murdered and the murderers walking, especially when the murderer was a different race. So George Zimmerman getting off was expected for me, which is sad to say, but that's where I was. So I didn't even understand why they were protesting, and I almost had this attitude like, this is just what it is, right? It wasn't until maybe a year later, and maybe more, okay? But it was definitely a long time after George Zimmerman had been found not guilty. I don't even like saying that he was found not guilty, that he was set free to go. That I heard the 911 tape, and I heard the audio of him wrestling with Trayvon, and when Trayvon was saying help, right? And that sat with me and lived with me because I was like, oh my God, right? To hear this little boy saying help me, right? And then for this man to get off after it was clear that he stalked him and murdered him, it changed something in me. After that, it was like, I don't know, something said, enough is enough. When are we going to do something? So I had a crazy plan of what I thought black people should do. I was on they don't need to sell Skittles in black neighborhoods because this company didn't even come out and say anything to the parents, and all I keep hearing about is Skittles with this. So I had like this ridiculous idea of how we need to deal with it, right? Like we need to show people that you just can't do anything in the black neighborhoods. Don't buy them from bodegas. Make sure that none of the bodegas on your corner have Skittles. Like it was just so ridiculous. But I didn't think it was ridiculous at the time. I'm thinking what I was saying was a solution to the problem, right? And why can't we just do this? And then I heard Professor Black Truth. But this is even a long time after that. This is years later. And I heard him breaking down how black people can handle, he gave a real solution to how to handle George Zimmerman and him being set free for the murder of Trayvon Martin, and what black people could do and how they can come together and force a punishment. And I said, okay. So that's why I could laugh at my little stupid plan now, because when you hear a plan that works and that makes sense and that is detailed, then, you just see where nonsense is nonsense. And that's why I have to ride with them, because they're not speaking nonsense. If you just compare the plans of what ADOS says and what TBA says, then you got to know where to go. Okay. And anyway, I'm going to end it on this because that's really the main point. Stick with people that have a plan of action. We need to stop complaining about what our situation is, and we need to take whatever actions we can take to better our situation. And it starts with us as individuals. If you want to see the situation for Black people get better, ask yourself, what can I do today to make that situation better? Do I really need to go out here and spend X amount of dollars with my oppressors? Or do I need to put some money aside and think about how I could build on this money? Do I really need to go out there and vote for a candidate that isn't going to do anything for us, that's going to allow us to continue to be murdered, that's going to offer us programs that don't help us, just to say, okay, I'm part of the solution? Because really, you're not part of a solution when you do that. When are we going to really take action to be the best that we can be? To really start not just sending our kids to school and letting them come home brainwashed, but to sit down with them and give them an education that they need, so that they don't walk around thinking that Black people have not contributed tons to this world. Not just America. Black people have contributed a lot to this world. I can't even say anymore. I'm done. Now I was trying to force it. So on that, and take it in a win.